This is the Municipality of Anchorage Planning and Zoning Commission, May 6, 2013. May I have the roll call, please?
Connie Yoshimura,
Here.
Stacy Dean,
Here.
Harry Parks,
Here.
Dana Pruse,
Here.
Peter Mulcahy,
Yes, ma'am.
James Ferguson,
Here.
Tyler Robinson,
Here.
John Spring.
Here.
All right. Thank you very much. I need a motion to postpone. That's been requested on case S11864-6. May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion that we postpone.
All right.
Let me give you the case number just a second.
Right.
Case number S11864-6.
Yes. Thank you. May I
Until June 3rd, 2013.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parks. May we have a second?
Second.
All right. That's actually Commissioner Parks, and then a second by.
Sorry.
No, I don't want to do the second. Who's doing the second? Ms. Dean is doing the second. Thank you very much. Any objection? All right. Seeing and hearing none, that motion is approved. Mr. Ferguson?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the right button.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to reorder the agenda to bring reports to the start of the meeting, please.
All right. Thank you. May I have a second? Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Spring. Is there an objection to the change in the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, that is approved. Moving on to the minutes then. We're going to have committee assignments, committee discussion after disclosures. Is that correct? Is that what your wish is? All right. Thank you very much. We have minutes to approve for March 4th and April 1st. May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve those minutes as they've been provided.
All right. Thank you very much. May I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Ferguson. Is there any objection to the minutes of the meetings? All right. Seeing and hearing none, that is approved. Special order of business disclosures. Vice Chair Parks, will you please do the disclosures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Spring?
Yes. For the record, I was not on the commission on July 2nd, November 5th, 2012, or January 7th, 2013. I will be abstaining from voting on resolutions 2012-33, 2012-52, and 2013-1. Also was not present at the April 8th, 2013 meeting and will be abstaining from voting on resolution 2013-15.
All right.
Commissioner Dean?
No, I have no disclosures.
Commissioner Pruse?
Yeah, for the record, I will be not on voting on resolutions 2013, 1, 12, and 13, because I wasn't present on the 7th of January, March 1st, or April 1st.
Commissioner Robinson?
None.
Commissioner Ferguson?
None.
Commissioner Mulcahy?
Yes, I need to abstain from 2013-13. I was not here on April 1st.
Thank you. I have none. Commissioner Yoshimura?
Yes, in the matter case 11864-6 and S11864-5, I declare a conflict of interest as I am a partner in those LLCs.
And we'll ask you to leave during that time,
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind, and I'll take the meeting over at that point. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Ferguson, time to discuss committee assignments and work from the committees. Would you like to start?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I had, for the lack of a better term, the paperwork reduction or trying to speed up the process on permitting. I've made a number of phone calls. I've got the start of a plan. I will not have anything to present this meeting and the next meeting, but the first meeting in June I should have something to present.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner Robinson, any information on Title 21?
I don't, Madam Chair.
Okay. Design Criteria Manual. I am pleased to see that Erica has handed out the Design Criteria Manual. It's dated January 2007. I understand at the beginning of each chapter, if there have been changes or annotations made, that they are in the front of the chapter. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
So can we assume then that anything that is in this Design Criteria Manual is indeed what the requirements are for landscaping, roads, et cetera, as administered by the municipality of Anchorage?
I'll have to double check with Steve Schrader. He's the acting municipal engineer and is responsible for the Design Criteria Manual. All I know is that this is what's posted on the website. Whether it is absolutely up to date, I couldn't tell you today, but I will find out. And
all right.
I'll let you know at the director's meeting on Thursday.
All right, that'd be great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Commissioner Dean, Long Range Plan, RFP, and Policies and Procedures. I'm sorry, Commissioner Robinson, did you have any comment regarding the Design Criteria Manual?
No, I don't, Madam Chair. We did have attendance from Ron Thompson and discussed it at our last staff meeting, I believe, or meeting with the director. So other than that, no.
All right, thank you. Long Range Plan, Ms. Dean.
No, I haven't done anything at this point. Thank you.
Okay. AMATS Committee, anything from Commissioner Mulcahy or Commissioner Spring?
Yes, Madam Chair. I attended the AMATS Technical Advisory Committee last month, and they discussed the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan criteria. And interestingly enough, they also discussed changes to the composition of the Technical Advisory Committee. And they almost nominated me and appointed me as a member, but I narrowly escaped and with my life. And they're going to reconsider this, however, in the June meeting of the Technical Advisory Committee. I guess I would like some input from the Commission if they have any regarding the appropriateness of Commission members being appointed to other committees in the line of duty, so to speak.
So
I'm not sure they're going to end up doing this. They're still in flux. They actually voted against this particular motion, but only because they think they wanted more in-depth discussion and more in-depth research regarding alternative compositions of the Technical Advisory Committee and whether other areas, MPOs, had similar type of appointments from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
how would that change the work of the commission, if at all?
Well, yes, Madam Chair. I believe this would be policy to have a Planning and Zoning Commission member as a permanent member of the Technical Advisory Committee. So if, as a liaison, I would be appointed to the committee, then when my term expires or when I no longer a member, there'd be the obligation for the Planning and Zoning Commission to appoint another person to the AMATS committee or liaison. So it'd be continuous.
And would the Planning and Zoning Commission as a whole still serve as the public review process, public review body?
The Citizen Advisory Committee for AMATS would still be the responsibility of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mm-hmm. And I didn't hear any discussion of changes to that at this particular meeting, although it was an issue with the Federal Highways Administration when they did their certification last time regarding whether or not it was adequately represented the public as the Citizen Advisory Committee.
All right. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Parks?
I'll wait until we get through all the meeting minutes. I've got a point of order.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms. Dean?
Madam Chair, I'm on the AMATS Air Quality Control Committee, and we're pretty much close to being disbanded because there's no more testing being done. We have one more meeting coming up, and I wouldn't be surprised if we were completely wound down.
Okay. Are you going to press the button, Commissioner Bruce? Did you have something you wanted to say? You're just waiting for the next one. All right. Are you waiting for the next one also, or do you have a point? Are you waiting for us to finish with the committee, or?
I'm done. I'm ready for a point of order, if I could, please.
Okay.
We need to go back a little bit and recluse you from the case number S11864-5, and I'll need a motion to do that.
Okay.
We just forgot to do it, so if I could have a motion to.
So moved.
And I need a second. Thank you. Any objections?
Well, it's a motion to,
Okay, that's right. You do object. I'm sorry. So I would assume that everybody would. I think that she needs to be right.
So I will not be supporting my motion.
Right. There we go. So it's no.
Against our voting no.
That's right. Sorry. Got lost in the motion.
well, number 5 was postponed. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. Just vote no. Thanks. Okay. Good. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you very much. The Airport Master Plan Committee. Commissioner Pruz.
The airport is in the process of doing an update on their master plan, and they have been having public hearings. They also have an advisory committee that I've been attending about once a month, and the next one is this meeting number 4 is this week, Wednesday, from 11 to 1. Basically, the first 3 meetings have been updating where the airport's been, what's happened in the past, and now what's going to happen in the future. It's advisory, and only the airport will then decide what they're going to do, and ultimately, this committee here will see it.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any major issues that are being considered other than the coastal trail?
Pretty much that's
it?
That's the hot ticket.
All right.
And just FYI, the airport, as I said before, that back 15 years ago, they gave the municipality the opportunity to use their property with a 90-day termination clause. With the FAA concurrence, they actually required it. So both the municipality and the airport could cancel the access right now within 90 days.
Thank you for your service. That is an important matter. All right. Commissioner Parks, anything on the Airport Master Plan Committee or any other committee? Okay. Ms. Dean.
Madam Chair, I'm on the Merrill Field plan, and Carol Wong and I have not heard from the Merrill Field people in quite some time, actually. So I'm not sure what's going on with that.
So maybe you would be interested in another committee. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you all very much. We're now on to item number D, the consent agenda resolutions for approval. May I have a motion, please? Commissioner Parks moves to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right. Thank you very much. May I have a second? Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Is there any objection to the resolutions for approval? Ms. Dean.
I would like to pull item D1A, which is resolution 2012-033.
All right. Thank you. I don't need a second for that. No. All right. So Commissioner Ferguson. All right. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to pull one of the resolutions? All right. Thank you. So if is there any objection to the approval for the other resolutions? Seeing and hearing no other objection, we can pass those at this time. All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Dean, as it relates to D1A, may we have your comments and commentary?
Madam Chair, my questions are for staff. This particular resolution took 10 months from the time that we voted to the time that we're seeing it back to us. I'd like to know why it took so long, and sometimes this does happen on cases. I don't completely understand the whole process of how we vote on something and then we have a resolution for it a month or months later. So if I could get some clarification from staff on that process, that would help.
Through the chair, Ms. Dean, thank you. As I noted in my email response to your questions, 10 months is not appropriate. It is not appropriate for us to get resolutions back to you 10 months after the case happens. I did speak with the planner who was in charge with this case, and she basically said she forgot about these resolutions. We are working on ways to resolve that, working on ways to institute a better tracking system to make sure that I am aware of how quickly the resolutions are being written so that, I can help remind people in case they should forget, and also she is aware that, she needs to not forget. The resolution is the formal written decision of the body that reflects your findings. And that is why it has to come back to you after the day that you approve the case, because we have to, in writing, reflect the findings that you give us, and your findings say, here's why I voted the way I did on this particular case. So that's why each case kind of has a two-step process. In our ideal world, we have the resolution back in front of you no later than about a month, and we are going to work harder to make sure that that happens in the future.
There have been a series of emails going back and forth regarding the actual physical construction of this, which was different than the site plan that we saw and that we approved. So I guess, is this project being built as it was approved, or have there been modifications to this plan? And if so, what was the process for the approval, and at which point in time does it require coming back to the Planning and Zoning Commission?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My understanding is that it is going to be an L-shaped building, and that at this time only the long side of the L has been built, but the short side of the L will be built. And it is also my understanding that the contractor was deviating from the design, not the L shape of the design, but from some other elements of the design, and that he has been sort of put on notice that he can't do that without filing a change order. If the developer or contractor did file a change order to deviate from the approved design, we'd have to make a judgment call about what that deviation was. If it was shifting the windows, half a foot lower, is that something we would bring back to the commission? No, we wouldn't. But if it was changing the shape of the building, moving the building from its, approved location on the site, those are certainly things that we would bring back. So if the contractor files a change order, that goes through the reviewing agencies in the Development Services Department, and the zoning plan reviewer notes, oh, well, this case has an approved site plan from the commission, and reviews the the requested change against the site plan, and if it's anything that's more significant than something like moving the windows a half a foot, she would bring it to the community development or to the planning division's attention, and it would be a judgment call on my part. So as I understand it, this contractor has been put on notice and has stated, and I have this from Ross Knopfsinger, the engineering services manager, the contractor has been put on notice, and he stated he will construct the building as approved.
I haven't driven around the entire site, but I do frequently drive down Diamond, and I know the walls are up, so it seems a little bit unusual if the L isn't there at the same time.
I don't disagree with you, but you know a lot more about construction than I do.
Well, I guess we'll just wait and see. All right, thank you. Ms. Dean, does that answer in all your questions?
Yes, it does.
All right, so do you then move to approve Resolution D1A?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
All right, may I have a second? Thank you, seconded by Commissioner Parks. Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, then that resolution is approved. Thank you. Commissioner Ferguson.
Yes, on the resolution for 2013-001, paragraph B4, as stated, it reads, lighting standards shall provide adequate lighting at intersections and near the school. After this resolution was passed, I was made aware that the traffic engineer is defining intersections to include driveways. I went through and I read my technical dictionaries I have on my bookcase, and I can't find where driveways are classified as an intersection. So I'd like to clarify that. Adequate lighting at intersections, comma, not including driveways, to make sure that my intent is clear. I guess I'll make that in the form of a motion.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a second to that motion? Yeah. There's a motion on the table by Commissioner Ferguson, seconded by Commissioner Parks.
And a point of order, please.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what item number?
Paragraph B4, and I guess it would read intersections, adequate lighting at intersections, comma, not including driveways, comma, and near the school.
If I might clarify, for the record, though, this is to reflect your actual action at the meeting, and if you didn't make that clarification at the meeting, changing the findings or the resolution, I believe would be out of order. Let me clarify that with staff as well.
In my opinion, if it wasn't stated either way, Mr. Ferguson is in the best position to know his intent.
My intent and with my training and my education, the intersection is not a driveway. And so that was my intent, and this is to explain why we made the motion we did. So therefore, I think it stands.
And that motion has been seconded by Commissioner Parks. Is there further discussion on this matter?
Okay, now, this has answered my my questions on this, and so I would move that we pass it now with that clarification.
All right, and could you repeat one more time with your specific language in the change?
Paragraph B4. Lighting standards shall provide adequate lighting at intersections, comma, not including driveways, comma, and near the school, semicolon. All other areas shall have rural lighting standards, period.
All right, thank you very much. Is there objection to this motion? Seeing and hearing none, the revised motion is approved. Thank you. All right. There is no unfinished business and actions of public hearing. We're moving on now to public hearings. Case 2013-045. The petitioner is P.L. Porterfield, and the request is rezoning to more than one zoning district. May I have the staff comments, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request to rezone approximately 6,865 square feet from the R6 district to the B3 district and 5,027 square feet from the B3 district to the R6 district. On page 2 of the staff packet, there is a map that shows this change. This site is located in Birchwood near the northeast corner of Glen Highway and North Birchwood Loop Road. The western lot is currently used as a thrift store and an assisted living facility in separate structures. There is a single-family home on the eastern lot. The zoning district boundary between the B3 and R6 zoning districts runs between the two existing lots. A preliminary plat was recently approved for the petition site, and this plat will allow the owner of Lot 97 to subdivide into 2 lots. In order to meet the minimum lot size for an on-site septic system and to resolve structural encroachments, the proposed plat slightly alters the lot line that previously coincided with the zoning district boundary. In order to avoid split-zoned lots, the preliminary plat was approved subject to approval of this rezone. As a result, this rezone request will shift the zoning district boundary slightly. The net result will add 1,838 square feet into the B3 zoning district. Regarding the findings for a zoning approval, staff finds that this is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. Altering the zoning district boundary will be consistent with the Chugiak Eagle River comp plan, which designates proposed lots 97A and 97B as commercial and lot 98A as residential. The zone map amendment is in the best interest of the public and will have a de minimis impact on the environment, transportation, public services, and land use patterns. Therefore, the department recommends that the commission recommend approval of this rezoning to the assembly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions by the commissioners of staff? All right. The public hearing is open. The procedure by which the public may speak to the commission at its meeting is, after the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, the chair will ask for public testimony on the issue. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the commission rules of procedure. Petitioners, including all his/her representatives, 10 minutes. Part of this time may be reserved for rebuttal. Representatives of groups, community councils, PTAs, 5 minutes. Individuals, 3 minutes. If you do represent a group, please state the name of the group and whether or not you have the authority to represent the group in your testimony. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the commission. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the commission. An individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Planning and Zoning Commission takes. Appeals must be filed with the clerk's office within 20 days after the Planning and Zoning Commission's final decision. Any individual may request written findings from any commission decision within 7 days. May we hear from the petitioner's representative at this time?
Pardon me, I'm Fred Wolotka, land surveyor, and I represent the petitioners, and I am preparing the plat. And I've discussed this with the owners. My understanding is that they're okay with the dedication of rights of way as spelled out in these conditions of approval. The Nielsen's, who own lot 98A, would prefer to leave the greenhouse where it is and just obtain an encroachment permit. It's not in anybody's way there. It's at least 30 feet from the existing road. So I don't think there'd be a problem obtaining the encroachment permit. I can't see any other problems here at this time. Between myself and the owners, we will work on resolving these problems, and hopefully we can get them resolved to the Platting Board's satisfaction. Do you have any questions?
If that's the end of your testimony, Mr. Wolotka, you have 8 minutes and 50 seconds left for your rebuttal, but we do have a question from Commissioner Dean.
Through the chair, is there a road right now? Does McKinley View exist east of Birchwood Loop Road right now? Is there any road bed there at all?
It's a gravel road.
There is a gravel road there. Okay.
Yeah, we've shown it on here in dashed lines. It's actually off of the petitioner's property. But this is where it is. It says existing gravel road right on the drawing.
All right. Are there other questions of the petitioner? Okay. Thank you. You have 8 minutes and 50 seconds for rebuttal. We will now hear from other public members who may wish to testify. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. In the matter of 2013-045, is there anyone else who would like to testify at this time? Would you please come forward?
Yeah, I'm Stan Nielsen. I own the property. I think it's lot 98. And I have an encroachment of the greenhouse in the right-of-way. And I'm hoping not to have to move it. That's not, you've got a road there, but it's not maintained. It's just a rut. Just a gravel thing that we maintain, plow the snow, everything else. You guys don't do anything, or the Muni doesn't. They put a street sign up saying it's named McKinley View Drive, but that's all. And anyway, I will either move the greenhouse if I have to, if I can't get a encroachment from the Muni. My existing garage is on their property, just one corner of it. There's no BLM lot, and I don't know when it was built, back in the 60s, I guess. And it's been there that way all the time, and we just discovered it when he started surveying. So he's giving us some property behind it to make it legal. And there's already an easement, a BLM easement on the east side of the property, but it's just a cliff. I don't know that anyone would ever do anything with it, but that's the old highway that went to Palmer at one time through there, and that was vacated. So there was no garbage dump off the side of it and a cliff there, and I don't know why they would need an easement, but they've already got one, a BLM easement. I guess that's about it. Any questions?
We do have someone in the queue, Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think what the petitioner and this gentleman are actually discussing are actual conditions on the plat. And I think what's before us to review is simply the rezone associated with one of the conditions of the plat. And so I guess I would ask staff to clarify whether we have any authority to be looking at conditions of the plat. We don't have that in front of us. Really, all we're being asked to do is to evaluate the rezoning.
Through the chair, Commissioner Robinson, that's correct. The conditions of the plat have been finalized by, it was an administrative short plat, and the platting officer, Dave Whitfield, we've already finalized the conditions of the plat. If the petitioner wanted to appeal that, it would go to the platting board.
Okay, so if I may, Madam Chair, sir, I think you know what you have in front of us here tonight is just the shifting of the zoning boundaries associated with the plat. That's all we're doing. So the conditions that you're bringing up really have to do. You have to go back to the municipality and discuss whether there's any opportunity to. Which it sounds like you're talking about an encroachment being one of the conditions on the plat. So you would have to go back to that gentleman over there and see if there's any opportunity to do that. But we are not dealing with that encroachment situation here tonight, just whether we're going to swap the R6 for the B3 boundary.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Robinson. Is there anyone else here who wishes to testify? Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here who wishes to testify? Anyone else at all? All right. The petitioner's representative has 8 minutes and 54 seconds for a rebuttal. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not really, but I misunderstood. I thought we were considering the plat approval, but we're just considering the rezoning. Is that correct? Okay.
That is correct.
So we'll have another meeting later for the plat approval. So I'll deal with the staff on that.
Commissioner Robinson.
I'd ask for staff clarification, but I believe the plat is already approved, and those are the conditions that it's been approved with.
Oh, right, okay. I'll deal with it, thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What is the wish of the commission at this time? Commissioner Parks.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation on motion on case number 2013045 for approval of the rezoning as mentioned on page 6 under recommendations.
All right. Thank you very much. That motion has been seconded by Commissioner Mulcahy, and just for the record, the public hearing has been closed. Is there an objection to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, that motion is approved. Thank you. Findings.
Yes, Madam
Commissioner
Chair.
Parks. I always forget the findings.
Yes, ma'am. I have a couple. It does this request does meet the comprehensive plan. It also meets the zoning map amendments. Is approved only in the best interest of the public, and it also supplies an economic use for the land as it's been rezoned. And the effects of this amendment and the distribution of the land use and the residential density as under the comprehensive plan, it meets all those requirements.
All right. Thank you. Are there any other comments for findings of fact? All right. Thank you very much. Vice Chair Parks, will you please take over the gavel? Thank you.
I need to log her out and log in, right? Okay, I think we're ready for case number S11S645-5, which is a Potter Creek Development, LLC. It's a, is that the right one? Yes, it is. It's a plat review for the Planning and Zoning Commission. Request for approval of the purpose to develop the property over 2 phases and to extend that. Good. And we have a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request for approval of a phasing plan and modification of the previously approved preliminary plat approved June 6, 2011 by the Planning and Zoning Commission from 18 months to 60 months. The first phase of development will develop lots 1 through 6, Block 2, with access provided via Grease Drive northeast of Potter Valley Road. The second and final phase of development will include lots 1 through 11, Block 1, lots 1 through 9, Block 3, and lots 1 through 4, Block 4. Petitioner states the primary reason for this request is that the lighting standards for Potter Valley Road are in the process of being addressed with the municipal traffic engineer, and until they are resolved, the construction of Potter Valley Road cannot begin. Anchorage Municipal Code 2115-115D allows for the approval of preliminary plats for up to 60 months when a development is no less than 10 acres and includes a phasing plan. The preliminary plat encompasses about 116 acres, and the petitioner proposes this phasing plan, making it eligible for the 60-month approval. Reviewing agencies had either no comment or no objection to this modification request. Thus, the department recommends approval of this phasing plan and modification of the preliminary plat from 18 months to 60 months to expire June 6 of 2016. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? And do we have a petitioner's representative? And I guess I need to reread all the, no, okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is David Grenier with Triad Engineering, representing the petitioner this evening. As staff says, the issue that we're dealing with is lighting standards as it relates to Potter Valley Road. And we're working with the traffic engineering department on that issue. In fact, my understanding and with discussions with the traffic engineer is that Title 5 or Chapter 5 of the DCM is going to be going into a rewrite or basically a revision that will include some rural lighting. So with this extension, it'll allow us to do a portion of the project this year, which is Grease Circle, and then the remaining part of the project will more than likely be next year. And by that time, should be able to work through the lighting standards. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and you have 9 minutes remaining for rebuttal. And does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Yes. So the request is to extend from 18 to 60 months, correct?
Through the chair, Mr. Schming, yes.
And it doesn't sound like, though, that that's really necessary to resolve the issue, or is it going to take that long for the lighting standard issue to be resolved?
It could very well. It could take, I recall the last time it went through a revision, it was a 2-year process.
Thank you.
Right.
Commissioner Robinson?
Thank you. Through the chair, could you just clarify for me the lighting situation? Is it because there is not a rural standard right now, and so you'd have to potentially light the road more than what might seem appropriate? Is that what you're waiting on, that there would actually be some lessening of the lighting requirement on this area?
Through the chair, yes. Basically, it's a rural standard versus an urban standard. And by definition, a collector road requires urban lighting, which essentially in this case is about every 150 feet. So, and the dilemma is the Hillside District Plan that was just approved calls for night lighting, which basically continuous lighting wouldn't meet that. So we're in a dilemma here. I believe it's the same issue that you've seen on Golden View.
I believe you probably have some empathy from members of this commission on that topic.
Extremely so.
Commissioner Dean?
Through the chair, on pages 2 and 3, the city has listed out some recommendations, and I was curious if you felt comfortable with all those recommendations and were aware of what the city was asking for.
Through the chair, yes, we are.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So there's any other questions? We'll open it up to public hearing. If there's no other questions. Thank you. Okay, we'll open up to public hearing. And we will now open up public hearing for this case, S11864-5, Peter Creek Development, LLC. Anyone here to testify? Does not appear that anyone's here. We'll close the public testimony. Were you going to speak?
Yeah, I have
I'm sorry.
questions, and this is Potter Creek, not Peter Creek, sir.
I'm sorry? Okay. Go ahead.
My name is Dave Tish. I'm one of the concerned citizens that live up in the Potter Creek area. With this mass development that is proposed for this 116 acres. Now, I'm not sure the process that is going to be required of me tonight, but we have some questions as a community that have been unanswered. The people in Potter Creek area are not exactly sure what this 116-acre development is going to encompass. Is this going to be dense housing? There's been rumors that this is going to be an assisted living project. There are some major concerns from the people that live up there. Egress, emergency egress. Does Mr. Yoshimura or Potter Creek Development LLC have a contingency plan if there was an earthquake and the Potter Creek bridge went out? How many hundreds of people or possibly thousands of people have a secondary means of egress from the Potter Valley area if we had a wildfire? I mean, the fire trucks going up there. I mean, is there a plan in place for this? The traffic, the road conditions, the snow removal. How about water? How about sewer? Is this going to be a project that where the people of Potter Valley, or the cost is going to be incumbent upon them to finance the development or project for this business? I mean, there's some major questions that have been unanswered, and not speaking for the community, but as a member of the community, where can we find the answers to these questions? Fire service is a huge concern. I mean, within the municipality, there's a 4-minute response, that is required of the fire service to get to an area. I mean, it was a huge concern up there for Mr. Miller's development. And with this other development that is going to go in, who's going to finance another fire station? Is this going to be another tax burden for the people? I mean, we're not going to have a 4-number response. The closest station up there is Station 10 and Station 9. And that's at least an 8 to 10 minute response time. EMS is another one. If it's a retirement community, it's going to put a huge burden upon our EMS system. It's just, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered for the community to feel somewhat comfortable with this development that have been unanswered, and that we have not had any direction. Where's the plot that we can look at? What is the intent here? Is there something we can look at, a master map or a plan? The water, the sewer, the traffic, the emergency egress, the fire service, the police protection, and everything that should go with the community seems to be flung about and rescheduled here. And how many times has this come up and been rescheduled? This is not convenient for a lot of people in the community or in Potter Valley to come to these meetings. And would it be okay with the commission if I were to get petitions from the people to say, hey, we're really not in favor of this? We can't get everybody in Potter Valley to come up here to the assembly chambers and testify. That's just not reasonable. But I mean, is a petition okay with the commission if I said, here, I went to every single place in the community and say, oh, this are our concerns. They need to be addressed. We would like to have some answers, please.
Okay. And do I have any question for the? Yes.
Through the chair, sir, do you have a packet in front of you that's labeled G2 that would have been available out there? Do you have that
no, I just have this agreement, sir.
Okay, there probably are packets out there in the front. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to clarify, what is before us right now is to extend approve a phasing plan and extend the amount of time to do the phasing from 18 months to 60 months for this particular plat. So the property has already been through a rezone. It was rezoned from R3 to R6, which, as you know, is large lot housing consistent with, I think, a lot of what is on the hillside. And the plat that's approved, you'll actually see it on page 3 of this document. So we're not approving the plat. We're not modifying the plat any more than all we're doing is simply saying whether to allow a multiple phase project and to allow it to occur over a span of up to 60 months because the issue that was brought up here related to lighting. So really it's not on the table. It's an approved plat per the municipality, and now anybody that comes in, there's some requirements that they have to do because of the plat, but otherwise they're approved to build homes on the lots that you'll see there on page 3.
Okay. We have any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Spring.
Yes. Are you a member of a community council?
Am I? No, sir.
Okay. I guess so when maybe the petitioner can rebuttal time can answer my question better maybe. I was wondering if there's any representation from the petitioner at the community council explaining what the project was, because it's gone through several public hearings, as Commissioner Robinson's mentioned, including a rezoning and a plat. And I'd be surprised that the petitioner hasn't made an effort to go to the community council, because that's usually what they do.
Yeah, I understand some of the process that goes on here in the assembly chambers, but not entirely. Okay, I'm just speaking as a member of the community. Even though we have the community council meetings and everything else, there are a lot of questions and concerns from the people that live up there, and how it's going to affect us as far as the things that I mentioned earlier. And the cost and who's paying for it, how's it going to be paid for? I mean, what are the future plans? I mean, instead of just going into this phase 1, phase 2 type of thing, where's the long-term plan? Don't plan out, a year from now or 60 months from now. Plan out 2, 3, 4 years from now. All of a sudden, are we going to have another fire station up there? Are we going to have to widen the roads? Are we going to have to put in another bridge for a secondary means of egress? What's the big picture? I don't want to know just the little picture.
Commissioner Dean?
Through the chair, this is actually not going to be high-density housing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be approximately 45 lots there. That's it. It's not going to be a huge change.
I think if you read the package, you will get an opportunity to take a look at what this particular plat calls for. We will, if there are no other questions or comments, then we'll have the petitioner's representative come up and answer and address some of the things that you have brought up.
They will address some of the questions I asked, sir?
Well, yes.
Oh, great. All right, sure.
You have 8 minutes, and yes, and we need to. Is there anyone else that would like to testify on this matter? Sure. Please come forward.
I have been a property owner up there.
We need to have you state your name, if you could, please, and pull the mic down. Thank you.
My name is Wilma Tish. I have been a property owner there for over 15 years, and I'm not a bit happy with what I see. There are a lot of us that went up there to build our homes and to live there, not to have it a multi-million-dollar moneymaker for one or two individuals. And we have a large group in the area in which I live where we meet. I put this down a little more. Is that better? Thank you. Anyway, we are definitely concerned from the little bit of information that we have had, which has been very small. A couple of things have come in the mail. We've discussed it at a community meeting, and there's a lot of unhappy citizens who have lived there. I bought from the original homesteader, so I've owned my property for years. He had a homestead that was subdivided prior to his death. And I know at least 9 families that live in that area. I am not in an area where we have any paid roads. I am not in an area where we get any city services. Everything is done by the homeowner. We have wells, we have septics, and now what we want to know is, are we going to be assessed when they put in all this by the size of our lots? Even though we are totally self-sufficient, are we going to have to pay so somebody else can build a lot of houses? And what are the minimum lot sizes in this so-called, if you've had a plat, I've read everything in detail that I've received, what are going to be the minimum lot sizes? Do you know?
This is R6 is what it is. But ma'am, we're not here really to discuss the plat and the zoning.
I'm just wondering if you knew. None of us seem to know. That's what's disturbing.
On R6 is an acre and a quarter or bigger, and it's for large lot residential, and that would be in the package.
What is large lot? Does that mean an acre, 5 acres, half acre, what?
I believe R6 is an acre and a half. I believe acre and a quarter, right? Minimum of an acre.
Minimum.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's correct. Do we have any questions for the speaker? Okay. Thank you for your testimony, ma'am. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? If there's no one else, then we'll close the public testimony, and we will have 9 minutes of rebuttal time.
Mr. Chairman, yes, this project's been through several public hearings. We also were at the Rabbit Creek Community Council on several occasions. However, we're always more than welcome to meet with any of the homeowners to explain the project and to lay out what it is. So after this public hearing, I'd like to meet with you and give you my name so we can talk more about it. As you said, it is R6, which is acre and a quarter. However, the actual density of this project will be on the 160 acres in the range of 75 to 80 lots total. It'll be well and septic. Every lot in this first phase has been proven from the standpoint of on-site sewer. There's a test hole that was drilled on every site, and we have that those sites identified on the project. There's also 3 wells that were drilled to prove that there is on-site water available, and we've extensive report that was prepared and reviewed and approved. As far as access, Potter Valley Road will be a paved section to collector standards, all the way from the end of the paved section now, all the way to the east boundary of the project. Secondary access will be in the, basically after the initial 30 lots are constructed. This tie-in at the at the northeast corner will be one of the requirements, so there will be a secondary access. With that, I think that summarizes it. Again, I'd be more than happy to meet with with any of the residents, and we can go over more details and provide some maps what the overall project looks like. As far as the original R3SL, that and the master plan, there was a master plan with over 800 units planned on this 160 acres at one time, and it's just going through a lot of the scenarios, it just seemed that going the R6, the larger lot concept, fit in a lot better with the surrounding homes. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Dean?
Through the chair, I just have a quick question, just a number question. On page 2, it says the plat will expire June 6, 2016. And but you're getting 60 months, and I didn't know if that started now, and the date is inaccurate at 2016, which is just over 3 years away, or is that an error, or is that how it works?
Through the chair, Ms. Dean, it actually is. It goes back to the original approval, so you can't get an additional 60 months from today's date. It would go back to the original approval from when it was originally approved. It had one time extension, I believe. So this would go ahead and bring it back from when it was originally approved, 60 months from that date.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If there are no other questions, then we will close the public hearing and all the questions. I would ask the wish of the commission. I have a motion by Mr. Robinson and a second by Mr. Mulcahy.
Yeah, in the matter of S11864-5 Potter Highlands subdivision, I move that we approve the phasing plan and the preliminary plat from 18 months to 60 months, expiring June 6, 2016.
Okay. Do we have any comments? Any opposition to this? Then it will pass. And I think we'll take about a 3-minute break. Sorry. We need some findings.
I would simply say that both the phasing plan and the time extension are allowed under Municipal Code 2115-115D, and this seems to meet those standards. Thanks.
Thank you, and we'll take a 5-minute break so Ms. Ishmael can come back and take over. Thank you.
Mr. Ritter? Yes, sir. Dave Tisch. Yeah, obviously there's some Sure.
Oh, okay. Ms. Dean, you're in the queue. Okay, all right. Thank you. We're back in session. We're now ready to hear case 2013-046. The petitioner is Granite Construction Company. It's an amending a conditional use for a natural resource extraction. May we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The petitioner, Granite Construction, is requesting 60 occurrences of 24-hour operations for this summer only between May and September. The conditional use for this natural resource extraction project expires at the end of 2014, so at the end of next year. The reason for the 60 occurrences of 24-hour operations is for the Glen Highway Path Rehabilitation project between Muldoon Road and North Birchwood. This is for a bike path, and they require that the work be done overnight. And so this gravel extraction site won the bid for this project, is now requesting these 60 occurrences. In April, 54 public hearing notices were mailed from the department to the surrounding neighborhood. As of this writing, no comments were received from the public. Also, no comments were received from the Chugiak Community Council. The petitioner has stated that the Community Council passed a resolution of non-objection in February, and the petitioner has explained to me that he's attended several Community Council meetings and briefed the Community Council on the project. The conditions of approval recommended by the department are on pages 2 and 3 of the packet, conditions 1 through 2. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and Mr. Jim Winchester, the petitioner's representative, is here as well.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Spring, you have a question?
I just have a clarification. The recommendations include a couple of conditions. The first one talks about, I'll just quote it, I guess. If trucks or heavy equipment are parked at the locked access gate outside the hours of operation, they shall not have engines, generators, motors, etc. running, but shall be completely shut down. First of all, I don't know, outside of operations, if this allows 60 occurrences for 24 hours operation, is there any hours outside of operation? And then second, why specifically require only trucks or heavy equipment that are parked at the locked gate access under this condition?
Thank you. Through the chair, Mr. Spring, that's a good question. So what staff try to do is to get really detailed and to specify what you could do during under the existing conditions of the gravel extraction project, and what you could do when you invoke one of these occurrences of 24-hour operations. Now, 60 occurrences is quite a few. It may be, nearly the whole summer. But what they'll have to do is to keep track of each time there's an occurrence, and then they'll be able to operate 24 hours. But what staff has tried to do is specify that the conditional use approval and the resolutions at the back of your packet, those apply whenever you're not in 24-hour operations. And when you are in 24-hour operations, that's this Part B extended hours that specifies, what activities you can do. If you'd like, you can strike that whole sentence. It was just aimed at saying that, they didn't want truck noise to be occurring outside of under normal hours without invoking that 24-hour operation occurrence, those 60 occurrences, that they couldn't, have trucks running outside of those hours.
If I could continue to follow up.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think I understand outside of the hours operation doesn't include the exceptions, the 60 occurrences. I still don't understand, though, will trucks and heavy equipment be allowed to operate if they aren't at the locked access gate outside of the hours of operation?
So I guess my thinking was, look, you have a secured site or whatever, you have a gated, there's a driveway, right, to the Old Glen Highway. And when that gate is closed and they're not invoking one of these occurrences of 24-hour operations, I wanted everything to be shut down. They can't sort of just willy-nilly run 24 hours all summer. So that's what this was about. But when the gate is open and they've said this is an occurrence of 24-hour operation, then these things can be running. Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess wouldn't it be clearer if you said are parked within the locked access gate?
Yeah, I think that's an improvement. Sure.
I mean, I'm sure nobody's going to bring this up as a complaint, but I mean, it seems like it'd be clearer if it was all operation of trucks and heavy equipment within the operational site or some such thing. Thank you.
Commissioner Pruz.
Yeah, could you tell me what AMC 15.7 on the noise limits actually says? On page 2, under your recommendations?
I didn't, well, actually, I do have a copy of the noise ordinance. Yeah, I can read it to you. That citation of code is just the noise regulations. It's just the chapter on noise. The rules on noise, you're not allowed to exceed certain decibels after certain hours. This is just referring to something that's part of our land use or our code. Is there, Mr. Pruz, is there something that?
No. I just curious what the actual ordinance said.
Maybe
I
I'll
mean, you don't have to
pass it
repeat
to you.
If it's a full chapter, but maybe in the future you could attach it or something if you refer to it, so that we have something to refer to, so understanding what you're referring to.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll look for it so I can hand it over to you. And point taken. Thank you.
Okay. And then I have one more question. The application for this conditional use refers to the petitioner's statement that the hours of operation have to conform with the project and I guess the project specs. And nowhere do I see a copy of that in the application or in your findings or recommendation to confirm that actually what the project says. Did you guys look at that? Do you have a copy of it? Do you know, in fact, what it actually says?
Through the chair, no, Mr. Pruz, none of that information was requested of the petitioner. When staff had a pre-application meeting with the petitioner, they said, we would like to run 24-hour operations specifically for a DOT project, and would the department be open to that? And we said, go to the community council meetings and put in the time, and can you meet the is it something that would be acceptable to the neighborhood? Is this going to become a controversial sort of thing? And they said that they'd been doing those things, and they requested these 24-hour occurrences to 24-hour operations specifically for. And I have to look at the conditions of approval, but I think that we state that in here that it'll only be allowed for this particular project and not for any other project. But we did not request their approval.
On page 1 of the application from the petitioner, the middle of the page, it says this project limits work to the period between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. daily. Is that a state requirement? Is it the petitioner's requirement? Is it the municipality's requirement? Whose requirement? Who's limiting the work between the hours?
Well, when we, I would defer to Mr. Winchester, but what he explained was that the project requirement was that they worked at night, and hence he was, going through the trouble to ask for approval to work at night.
Is it for the convenience of the contractor, or is it a state? That's what I guess I'm.
It was a requirement of of DOT, and.
But you did not confirm that.
That's correct.
Well, maybe the petitioner has it. Thank you.
Commissioner Ferguson.
After Commissioner Pruz's questions, I sort of feel embarrassed to ask this. Is there any requirement that they track when the 60 events are? Do they notify anybody? Do we reach September and have somebody said, no, you've had 60, no, I'm not? how do we know when they've had 60 events?
Mr. Ferguson, the condition number 2 says all occurrences of 24-hour operation shall be noted by date in the annual monitoring report that they submit for the conditional use for gravel extraction. They submit that in December.
Okay, I see that. I missed that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No further questions.
Commissioner Spring, are you still in the queue, or are your questions been answered? All right. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions, Mr. Whitfield. How close is this run, this 60-day, 24-hour run? How close is it in yards or feet to any sort of residential area?
Well, through the Madam Chair, I don't have that distance. I think the nearest house, if you look on page 5, the aerial photo, you can see that there are residences not too far away. Let's see. I'm going to find the site plan to refer to as well, just a moment. So, the site plan, and it's not very easy to read,
right,
fortunately, on page 27. Apologize for that. And then the aerial on page 5, you can see the nearest house is directly to the east. And I think that Mr. Winchester could speak to, how many feet it is.
So this resident is going to have trucks going by his house 24 hours a day?
Within the gravel, the petition site, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Pruz, did you have another question?
Yeah, I do. On your recommendations on page 3, item 3, you say extended hours will only be allowed for extraction/processing of gravel to be used on the Glen Highway Path rehabilitation. In the petitioner's application, they're eliminating, looks like, asphalt production and crushing, and they're asking for screening, but yet your recommendation doesn't do that limitation. And I was just wondering if there was a reason, oversight, or would that, are you anticipating what the application, the petitioner is requesting with this statement?
Through the chair, Mr. Pruz, I'm anticipating what the petitioner would like to do. He wants to be able to screen on site, and this approval allows him to do that. It does not prohibit him from doing that. Is that your question?
Well, the word processing means a whole bunch of things besides screening. There's a lot of other activities that you can do to materials besides screening.
Mm-hmm. Processing of gravel, extraction, extended hours.
Crushing is processing, asphalt. Adding oil mixed is asphalt, that's processing.
Mm-hmm.
Washing is processing. Wash plants is a form of processing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it appears the applicant was trying to limit the I guess the noise intrusion, but yet your recommendation actually opens it wide open.
Will only be allowed for extraction, processing of gravel. Extraction and processing of gravel. Okay, so the thinking that staff had when drafting this was, if you look at 1B, it says extended operating hours, limited operations. It says the 60, so point I on page 2, 60 occurrences of 24-hour limited operations are permitted to be finished by September 30, 2013. Activities specifically prohibited from limited operations include rock crushing and any other activity that cannot be conducted in compliance with the noise ordinance and the provisions of the resolution 2009-030. So instead of trying to rewrite and specify everything that you could and couldn't do, I wanted it to be exactly as it was approved in the original conditional use.
Well, this is an amendment to it, so they're for the evening, I guess the evening hours.
Right. And they're not allowed to hot batch or process in, I think, the manner that you're referring to in the original conditional use. This is, see, I mean, it's just sort of a puzzle, right? And what, in the language here, it wasn't trying to open up anything new that they would be allowed to do. It was specifying that that only the activities that are allowed in the conditional use that they have would be allowed to continue in these nighttime hours. The condition that you referred to was meant to say that this nighttime hours can only be for this project. So when you sort of picked out this word processing, that was meant to just, if you read the whole thing, it says extended hours will only be allowed for extraction processing of gravel to be used only on the Glen Highway Path Rehabilitation Muldoon to North Birchwood Loop in 2013, and not for general commercial sales of gravel or asphalt. So the intent is that in one condition we say that you're allowed to do the things that you were in your original conditional use approval, and then in the next condition it's stating that this can only be for one project. So if they were selling gravel for any other project, they couldn't invoke the 24 hours operation to do that.
Well, as a suggestion, it should read under 2 then. It should include gravel extraction, screening, and any other activity is prohibited. And that matches up with the petitioner's request.
And staff doesn't have any objection with that clarification. I think that works fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Spring.
I have another question. Thank you. Following up on Commissioner Prue's comment, it seems like if that amendment's done, accepted, then perhaps we need to amend 1A2, which states that full operations are prohibited on Sundays, holidays, and beyond the normal operating hours. Only those limited operations described below can be permitted outside of the normal operating hours. So I'm not sure exactly if that's a conflict or not, but it seems like full operations are prohibited on Sundays, holidays, and beyond. Doesn't really make sense to me. What are full operations, I guess? Is it like we were discussing, everything including rock crushing and screening are prohibited on Sunday? So you wouldn't want to prohibit full operations beyond normal operating hours because you're allowing limited operations beyond normal operating hours, aren't you? And by this resolution, you're allowing crushing and extraction and trucking off of it. So you aren't prohibiting full operations beyond normal operating hours unless you're changing.
Well, I think what they're doing is if I may, is stating again what the existing in-place conditional use authorizes under the normal operating hours and the days and the time, and that they're not limiting any of those activities. It's just under the extended that we're giving them 60 days, which is the extended 60 operations time that they're requesting, that those operations are limited to the what we call the extended operating hours. And to me, it's reading what the petitioner actually wanted to get permission to do in those extended hours and what I read here can conflict. So I'm trying to get to the point where we're actually writing in the recommendation, what the petitioner may be asking for. And I would assume they're sensitive to the community, and they're sensitive to the neighbors, and maybe when we hear from petitioner, that's what they talk to the community about. So,
but the statement, full operations are prohibited on Sundays, but we want to eliminate, and that assumes that limited operations are allowed. Does that assume that limited operations are allowed on Sunday holidays and beyond the normal operating hours, or is that not limited or not allowed?
Number 5 answers that. Next page, bottom.
Number 5. Page 3. Oh. There'll be no operations. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? All right. Let's hear from the petitioner.
Madam Chairman, members of the Commission, my name is Jim Winchester. I'm with Granite Construction. I'm here with Stephen Conley. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Maybe I can jump in and clarify. Currently, we're allowed to operate an asphalt plant there and a rock crusher for the evening limited hours. We were just giving, just wanted to assure the neighbors and the Commission that we weren't asking for full-blown processing operations, but we would like the opportunity to have a small power screen to size material as we load out trucks. So it's less than what we're allowed to do during the day, but we'd still like the option to do that.
Is that your testimony?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. You have 9 minutes and 21 seconds left for rebuttal. Commissioner Mulcahy.
Yeah, just a couple quick questions. First, you okay with the recommendations that the staff has in the packet as written?
Everything's good.
Everything's okay?
Yeah.
Second, real quick, can you describe the public outreach, the community councils you talked to, the posting?
So we attended 3 community council meetings in December. We did an informational, just presented everything out there. We showed up in January for an action item, and there was no quorum. And so we presented again in February. There was a quorum present, and there was a vote of non-objection. I think there was one comment from someone at the senior center that was just a little concerned about truck noise, but I've talked to them since then. We sent out about 40 letters to all the adjoining property owners along Skyline and Dogwood, and I hadn't heard from anyone about it. I've been involved with this property for 12 years. I filled out the annual complaints, and I haven't had a complaint in 12 years. So this is the one, you know, a lot of times you hear about complaints about gravel pits next to residential neighborhoods, and this thing's been here almost 50 years. We've had a pretty good record.
Tonight's turnout is pretty indicative of what kind of neighbor you've been.
Yeah, thanks. I got to say the property's up for sale. We're done. Once this is done, the project, to answer Commissioner Pruse, it is a state requirement that we do not impede the bike path between the hours of we can work between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m., and that's a DOT requirement. We tried to get them to change the work during the day so we didn't have to go through this, and we weren't successful. So we have to leave it open for bike commuters every day.
All right. Commissioner Mulcahy, does that answer all your questions? All right. Thank you. Commissioner Pruse?
Yeah. Would you have any problem with changing the sentence from extended hours be only for extraction and processing to extraction and screening?
You know, I'd just like the option to do it. It's more efficient for me to screen and then load a truck with a guy. I'm sorry.
You'd still get to extract and you'd still get to screen. And instead of using the word processing.
Oh, yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just that eliminates any ambiguity for crushing and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Dean?
Through the chair, I have a totally different question.
Sure.
The Ptarmigan Valley Trailhead for Chugach State Park is just down the street, and you guys own that, don't you?
No, I think that's Heritage Land Bank, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't own that. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing and hearing none, thank you very much. We need to open the public hearing and see there's no one here. And so we're going to close the public hearing. What is the wish of the commission? Commissioner Pruse.
Yeah, let's see. In the matter of 2013-046, amendment to a natural resource extraction conditional use to allow extended operating hours, I recommend the passage with the following, with the recommendations on page 2 and 3 from this palette, from the memorandum from the department, with the following change on page 3, first sentence, to change the sentence to say, extended hours will only be allowed for extraction and screening of gravel to be used only on the Glen Highway Pathway rehabilitation.
All right. Thank you very much. This motion has been seconded by Commissioner Mulcahy. Do you agree with that change? All right. You do. Commissioner Spring?
I'd like to add one amendment.
Okay. Let's see what you... go ahead.
Yes, the amendment would change recommendation number 1, second sentence, to no trucks or heavy equipment parked within the locked access gate outside the hours, the approved hours of operation, shall have engines, generators, motors, etc. running, but shall be completely shut down, and shall be completely shut down.
Say that again.
Yeah, could you say that again? Because I thought that's what it said. If trucks or heavy equipment are parked at the...
Okay, I'll repeat that. No trucks or heavy equipment parked within, it's changed, the locked access gate outside the approved hours of operation shall have engines, generators, motors, etc. running, and shall be completely shut down. So the changes are...
A preposition at versus within?
The main change is instead of at the locked access gate, within the locked access gate. I could improve that if you want, but...
Commissioner Pruse, did you have a question?
Yeah, you're saying that the equipment within you're proposing the equipment within the work area? But how would they work if their engines are turned off?
Outside the hours of operation. So, in other words, if they don't have, if the trucks are running outside the hours of operation, then that'll be a violation of the conditional use, which is what I think the intent was anyway, wasn't it?
What this conditional use does is allow them for 60 days to run 24 hours a day. So,
yes, Madam Chair, and the approved hours of operation would include those exceptions.
Except for the week, except for Sundays.
Except for Sundays,
Okay.
and I think that was the original intent, was to try to shut down engines and equipment when it wasn't allowed, when operation wasn't allowed. I'm just trying to clarify that it's, it's within the area of operation that it needs to comply.
Well, I think there's two issues. I think you work inside, and I think maybe what was the department, not speaking for them, maybe we can hear from them, but if you have a whole bunch of trucks lined up at the gate and or something running, I mean, it's down the road or whatever, waiting to get in, is that what you're trying to eliminate that?
Through the chair, Mr. Pruse, that's exactly what I had in my imagination. I am not I've never worked at one of these sites, but that's what I imagined, was there were trucks lined up. But I think the changes that Mr. Spring has made is probably good.
What would be at or within, I guess?
Yeah.
Commissioner Ferguson.
I mean, the issue I saw was the gate's locked in the morning, and I have 19 trucks lined up when my foreman unlocks the gate. And so I think the way it was worded originally was correct, because that is where the issue was. Once they get inside, they're working, and that's what they're supposed to do. But it's the trucks lined up, and on a heavy operation like this, you can line up 19 trucks quicker than we can pass the motion.
Mile down the road.
That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate the clarification.
Okay. Commissioner Robinson?
I was just going to add that trucks inside can't be operating when it's not normal business hours anyway. So I think respectfully, I would either ask Mr. Spring to withdraw the motion or I would not be supporting it. Thanks.
Right. Does that clarify for you, Commissioner Spring? So you're withdrawing your motion. All right. So we're back to the main motion then with the amendment that has been proposed by Commissioner Pruz. So that motion has been made and it's been seconded by, let me recall, Commissioner Mulcahy seconded that motion. Is there any objection to the motion? Seeing and hearing none, that motion is approved. Thank you very much. May we have some findings of fact? I'm going to remember to do that. Commissioner Pruz. Jim, do you want to do some findings of fact? Well, Peter.
The findings are there. As stated in the staff report. Is it okay with that? You okay
Yep,
with that?
as stated in the
Motioner?
staff. Yes, as stated in the staff report. Those are the
You okay
findings
with that,
of fact.
Mr. Motioner down there?
Absolutely.
All right. You guys just want to go home. Commissioner Parks.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
All right. Thank you very much. Seconded by Commissioner Ferguson. We are adjourned.
The first time I heard one, I called the mechanic and I